I'm going to be talking about more of the top fashion trends for autumn winter 2025. Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kira and I'm your resident style solutionist, and I share videos on shopping for the best basics on the high street, how to build a capsule wardrobe, and lots of trend videos. So if that sounds good to you, then do hit subscribe because I would love to have you back for more videos. In today's video, we are doing a part 2 of my autumn trends video. If you have not watched part 1, then go back and watch it now because we are covering all of the top trends for autumn winter fashion for 2025. As always with these trends videos, I love knowing which trends you guys love, which ones you're hating, which ones you're going to be wearing. So please do let me know in the comments below. Really, it is about giving you inspiration and ideas for new ways that you can style pieces that you already have in your wardrobe. For a lot of these trends, you might find key pieces or similar pieces already in your closet waiting to be worn. However, I have also done some of the legwork for you. So if you do want to pick up any of these trends, I have full shopping edits that I've created over on my LTK. You'll see them here on screen and I'll also link them in the description below as well. So without rambling on too much, let's get straight into the first trend that we're going to be looking at, which is sheer details. I touched on this on my first trend video when I was talking about lace fabrics, but really sheer in itself is a huge trend for autumn winter 2025. Yes, we're seeing things like sheer lace, things like lace slips worn styled as dresses. The idea of kind of underwear as outerwear, it's a little bit risque, but there are definitely ways that you can style this that are chic. And when we think of autumn winter dressing, sheer fabrics don't exactly scream warmth. However, it is all about layering. Think of things like an oversized cozy knit jumper with a sheer skirt peeking out from the bottom. It's such a chic styling trick because it really juxtaposes those two textures together. And that's really at the core of this trend. It's about playing with texture. So things like sheer and mesh fabrics, sheer lace, different kind of sheer panels, either by styling pieces together or by picking up pieces that have some sheer panels in them. My top recommendation to incorporate this trend would be to get a sheer skirt, and it's really key that you layer this. So you can find on the high street completely sheer skirts, which obviously have to be layered. You can wear either a pair of boy shorts with them if you're feeling brave enough, or you can style them with another skirt underneath. You can also take a sheer skirt or a sheer wrap and wear it over your trousers. And this is another thing that I think we've been seeing so much of. It's really getting clever with sheer fabric and how you can style it. So next up, another trend that I have to mention for autumn winter is the Bohemian trend. This encapsulates things like ruffles, oversized fabrics, that really floaty, feminine kind of whimsical style. And I did touch on ruffles as being a huge trend in my previous video, but Bohemian actually covers more than that. So Bohemian in general is really looking at designers like Chloe. They nail the Bohemian trend so well. An oversized ruffled blouse paired with, let's say, a suede pair of shorts or a suede skirt, layers, fabrics like corduroy, like suede, those kind of textured fabrics that really we see so much with the Bohemian trend was huge for spring summer as well. So you can definitely take inspiration for how we styled that in the spring summer seasons, and it's basically just layering on top of that for autumn winter. It's definitely a trend that is kind of new in the last few seasons, but I do expect that it will stick around. Even the fact that we're taking it from spring summer and into autumn winter makes me think that we'll be seeing it right through into spring summer again. A key way to incorporate the Bohemian trend is probably with an oversized ruffled blouse. It's a key piece that you can style with skirts, with trousers, with jeans. You can dress it up or down, especially if it has an interesting neck detail. You know those oversized bow blouses that you can either wear loose, you can tie them. There's even a little bit of versatility there in actually how you wear them. I think that's an amazing way to incorporate this trend. Next up, another key trend we're going to be seeing is extreme silhouettes. It's the idea that you are giving drama and interest in your outfit through shape as opposed to with color or texture. So a great example of this is of course an exaggerated shoulder, a nipped in waist silhouette, but we're also seeing this with how people are styling things. So things like pillbox hats, structural hats, we're seeing silhouettes that are a little bit more artsy in style and a little bit more dramatic, but in very clean fabrics. Let's say a maxi skirt paired with a very sharp shouldered top. We can also see this this trend with asymmetric styles and very kind of severe one shoulder or asymmetric pieces, asymmetric hems. We're also seeing this with balloon sleeves, so like those very rounded sleeve jackets. They're all examples of extreme silhouettes that are kind of just turned up a little bit more, but still quite chic because they often involve minimal colors like blacks and whites or neutrals, but you're still giving that drama and fun. And actually it's something I really enjoy. I feel like it's almost kind of artsy and very cool. It does also kind of involve basics. It's just kind of how you style them. So even though this trend can look quite dramatic, I actually think you can amplify the silhouettes with how you style them. So actually if you were to just pick up a balloon sleeve top or blazer or maybe a power shoulder piece, you can easily style it with basically everything in your wardrobe. I also think a great way of doing this is by picking up things like shoulder pads, because then you can add them to the pieces that you're wearing. Or if you pick, let's say, a belt that has a peplum style or something like that that adds that silhouette onto what you're already wearing, I think is so clever. So following on from this, we're going to touch on a color trend, and it is burgundies and reds. Were huge news for the last season and also autumn winter of 2024 as well. They really came in super strong and, you know, stuck around all spring summer. We are still seeing them on the catwalks for autumn winter. So if you did pick up, let's say, a burgundy bag or a cherry pair of shoes or something in those hues, they are still very much present on the runways. Most of the best trends, I think, tend to filter in slowly and they're not just like a flash in the pan. So once again, burgundy and cherry is still very strong for autumn winter. We're going to be seeing it with rich burgundy and cherry toned leathers. We're of course going to be seeing it in our accessories and our handbags as well. Another huge trend we're going to be seeing for autumn winter 2025 is faux fur. This is no surprise because last autumn winter faux fur was absolutely a massive trend, very much popularized by the mob wife aesthetic. If you were on TikTok, you will probably have heard about that. Faux fur is something that I absolutely love. I wear it every single winter. As soon as the temperatures really get cold, it is by far the warmest thing that I can wear, and it also looks so chic and elegant. I have been building over the years a collection of, I think, some really great faux fur pieces in different colors. What we're seeing this year is kind of a continuation of last autumn winter. Faux fur in those kind of neutral deep colors. We're seeing a lot of brown faux fur coats, those like deep tans and beige colors. We're seeing a lot of black fur as well, but I think brown is the dominant color. Seeing it in those kind of vintage styles, in almost that throwback to the kind of mob wife style of those exaggerated collars and vintage types of faux fur. But as an add-on to this, we are also seeing faux fur accessories. When we think of faux fur accessories, it doesn't necessarily need to be a pair of like furry shoes or a super furry bag. You can go for textures like shearling and that kind of Borg material, which is a lot easier to style. It's less kind of loud. You can have it featured in, let's say, your hats or your handbags or your gloves, but I would recommend keeping it to a little bit of a minimal and also going with more neutral colors. If you want to be really maximalist, then you can go for a colorful faux fur, and it's so fun to see. But for me, all of the pieces that I have in my wardrobe are more on the neutral side. It just means that I can style them easier and I can get more value for my purchase as well. Another huge trend for autumn winter 2025 is animal print. Last autumn winter, leopard print really came back with a bang. It was his first year where it was heavily featured and heavily adopted by people after kind of a few years of maybe not being as popular. And the great thing is that it is going nowhere. It is still huge news for this year as well. It is not just leopard print that we're looking at. It's really any type of animal print. So things like zebra print, even Dalmatian print. We've also seen a lot of horsehair and cow print. And this is my particular favorite when it comes to animal print. The kind of horsehair style of print in neutral brown and cream colors is very chic, especially if you incorporate it into your accessories, perhaps with a bag, a pair of gloves, or even a pair of boots in this fabric. I think is so chic. Another great animal print that I think people often overlook is snake print, and this is often even easier to style than the likes of zebra or Dalmatian because snake print is quite neutral and quite muted in itself. A great way of doing doing this is with a pair of snake print boots, especially when you're looking at that kind of leather fabric. It really lends itself to snake print. I have a pair of snake print ankle boots in kind of a muted tone that are actually surprisingly easy to style. They offer a little bit of interest and print while also not being too loud. I don't really wear that much print in my wardrobe. This is one of the prints that I can kind of get on board with. Whether you're looking at, let's say, a leopard print textured kind of slouchy clutch or a pair of leopard print boots, I do think it is a big trend that we're going to be seeing so much more of this autumn winter. An accessory trend that we're going to be seeing so much of this coming autumn winter is embellishments. This is heavily tied into the maximalism trend, which you will have heard me talk about last autumn winter as well. It is definitely a move away from the minimalist, quiet luxury, kind of clean girl style that we saw for so many years, very much in the early 2020s, but people are getting louder and prouder and adding so much more kind of personality into their outfits, and embellishment is a great way of doing this. We saw this in spring summer, but really embellishment comes into its own in autumn winter. Things like brooches worn to, let's say, pin a cape together, to pin a scarf. Brooches are such an easy way to really nail this trend. They are a very easy one to find, both on the high street but also on the pre-loved and vintage market as well. So if you don't have any in your wardrobe already, they're definitely very easy to pick up. You can even raid a family member or, you know, mother or grandmother's wardrobe and see if you can find some vintage ones. You'll also find brooches in a lot of thrift and charity shops as well. So it's a very easy trend to incorporate. What we're also seeing is oversized brooches and embellishments. So larger brooches and brooches worn clustered together. I mentioned in one of my previous accessory trend videos about switching buttons for brooches. So you might have a blazer, for example, and instead of buttons, you're doing statement brooches. And it is such an impactful styling trick. It's definitely very inspired by the likes of Schiaparelli. They had this all over their catwalks this season. It's super fun and interesting. It's definitely very maximalist, as I said. You don't need to go all the way. You can just add elements to it as well. When we're talking about embellishments, we have to also mention belt buckles. And I mentioned belts as being my favorite trend for autumn winter this year. It's a really easy trend to incorporate, really easy to find on the high street, and really easy to style from your own wardrobe as well. We're seeing embellishments on our belt buckles. This is kind of tied to the Western trend, which I spoke about previously. It's also tied to the 80s trend, the maximalist trend. Oversized buckles, embellished buckles, really kind of statement buckles are kind of how to also include this if you didn't want to use brooches. It's really all about adding those conversation pieces to your outfit. What I would recommend is to pick one or the other in your outfit. You don't really want them to be competing with each other, so go for either a brooch or a belt buckle if you're looking to incorporate the embellishment trend. The next trend we're going to be looking at is 70s glamour. And this is everything from 70s style bell bottoms, wide leg trousers and jeans, high waists, ruffled textured blouses, lots of detail at the collar, and of course fabrics like velvet, suede, corduroy, things like oversized sunglasses, which are definitely having a big kind of comeback for autumn winter, and of course for spring summer as well. We saw a lot of them. 70s glamour and kind of vintage 70s style dressing, I think, should be exercised with caution, because if you do this head to toe, you can run the risk of looking a little bit costumey and like you are an extra from an Austin Powers movie. However, there are definitely ways to incorporate this and look super chic. For example, finding a great fitted velvet suit is high on my wish list for autumn winter. I would love something with a structured shoulder, a nipped in waist, and a matching trouser and blazer combo would just be so divine. Break it up and wear them separately, which I think would be super fun, but then also style them together for maximum impact. I think you can incorporate elements of this into your everyday wardrobe. For example, taking those statement, you know, ruffle neck blouses and dressing them down with jeans, styling them in more of a modern way. I think any of these trends that are very much vintage inspired, whether it's 90s or 80s or 70s, you kind of have to do it in a modern way so it doesn't look too costumey. Another trend we're going to be seeing for autumn winter, which I would love your opinion on, is slogans. The slogan tee and having kind of text on our shirts and jumpers is back. We've seen it across the runways. Everything from Dior re-releasing their iconic vintage inspired J'adore Dior t-shirt. We've been seeing slogans creeping in across the catwalks. And this is something that I will probably dip my toe in a little bit, but it's not something I'm going to dive headfirst into, because I worry that this is a trend that will age a little bit quicker. But I think if you go for something that's a little bit vintage inspired and you're, let's say, getting it in a t-shirt that you can wear kind of casually with jeans and things like that, I do think it is quite fun. Now, I did touch on some footwear trends in my last trend report video, but in this one, I'm going to give you another footwear trend that is going to be huge for autumn winter, and it is the school shoe. The school shoe is very much a kind of academic or preppy inspired loafer. Things like boat shoes and deck shoes that are very similar to a classic loafer, but they have a little bit more structure. We're not quite going back to chunky loafers, but deck shoes and boat shoes have a little bit more kind of volume to them. They've got a little bit more detail. We've even been seeing fringed suede loafers and kind of moccasin style shoes as well. But really the school shoe is the dominant kind of loafer style that we're seeing for autumn winter. Loafers in autumn winter are such a staple for me. As the weather starts to cool down, when I'm not ready to go into kind of my heavy boots, I find loafers are amazing. You can also style them with socks if you want a little bit more warmth. It's definitely that school shoe styling, but also just penny loafers in general. Loafers that have that kind of ruffled detail on the edge or that kind of structure. Brands like Flattered do amazing loafers. And again, I'll have some pictures here on screen of some of my favorites. I'll have them all linked in the description below. We are going to be seeing so much more structured hats. Think of things like pillbox hats, high structured hats, berets, almost like vintage style hats that we haven't seen in a while. We saw this in spring summer. It has definitely been filtering through this year. We saw straw and raffia structured kind of pillbox or bucket style hats, like downturned hats. We're seeing shapes and styles that we haven't seen in a few years, very much more vintage leanings. I love this trend because I am such a fan of hats. Any kind of accessory trends, I am definitely much more likely to try out because it means that I can stick with my regular capsule pieces and basically update my looks using one or two key accessories. I actually have been picking up some more kind of vintage inspired structural hats already, and I'm very excited to start wearing them properly for autumn winter. Another trend that you could kind of call a micro trend that we are going to be seeing so much of for autumn winter is the technical jacket. This is very much a lightweight, almost like windbreaker style jacket, particularly with a funnel neck. And we're seeing this funnel neck style also in our trench coats and shorter trench coats, but the best way to encapsulate this is with the technical jacket. It's also kind of called a bomber or a windbreaker. And the key here is that these technical jackets, which are very sporty and kind of androgynous, are being styled with very feminine pieces. So for example, wearing your technical jacket with the collar zipped all the way up with a very feminine midi skirt or a pencil skirt with a kind of satin polka dot skirt. We saw so much of this over spring summer, and of course we are going to be seeing it coming into autumn winter as well. And as the weather cools, we are going to be seeing these styled with heavier fabrics, wool fabrics, but we're definitely going to be seeing that high neck funnel style, that kind of wide funnel style across our coats, across our trench coats, across our jackets. So definitely keep an eye out for it because you are going to be seeing it all over the high street. Another trend we're going to be seeing more of for autumn winter this year is the resurgence of punk. Obviously the punk aesthetic and anything to do with rock or goth is very much like a subculture in itself. So this looks at things like studding details, which we've been seeing all over handbags, all over shoes, even over our jackets, our fabrics, and this has been trickling in for a few seasons. It's all getting a little bit amplified this autumn winter. We're also seeing things like buckles and belts and almost like that kind of punk style of like chunky buckles, leather. It's all a little bit grungier, and we have been seeing it trickling in, and it is set to continue. Of course, if this is not your aesthetic and not natural to you, then you don't need to jump headfirst into this style, but it's worth noting that we're seeing it a little bit more, and we're seeing those kind of tough leathers and with more kind of disheveled details coming in. Things like studding are still huge for autumn winter. If you picked up a studded bag or studded flats, for example, I know the Elia ones inspired so many versions on the high street. They are going nowhere, and you're going to be seeing even more studded details to come. So the last trend I'm going to talk about for autumn winter is again one that I'm a little bit on the fence about, and it is peep toe boots. We have been seeing these trickling in all over the high street. Kind of started to come in spring summer with peep toe mules and peep toe shoes, but obviously as the weather cools and as the high street turns more to boots, we are seeing peep toe boots. Very kind of heavy textures of leather, of suede, and very covered, almost like slouchy, oversized boots with the little peep toe, which is a kind of fun juxtaposition. In the wintertime, I don't know, do I want to have a peep toe. I don't know, do I want to have my toes out in the depths of winter? So this is a trend that I do think looks very cool. I think it can be styled in a really fun way. I always love seeing new trends come in because it's interesting and fashion is supposed to be fun at the end of the day. But I don't know, is this the most practical of footwear trends? And I would love to know in the comments below what you think, and will you be wearing peep toe slouchy boots coming autumn winter? How do you feel about it? Please let me know. So there you have it, guys. That is a roundup of some more of the biggest fashion trends that we're going to be seeing for autumn winter 2025. I would love to know in the comments how you feel about these trends. Which ones do you love? Which ones do you hate? And of course, if you have not already, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm doing so many trend videos and I'm going to be breaking down accessory trends, handbag trends. We're going to be looking at all of the biggest trends for the season to come. So if you want to know how to style these trends and where to find the best pieces on the high street, then be sure and hit subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.